All right, everybody, welcome back. So next we're going to go into the block out refine part. So first things first, we want to make sure we work in an organized way. Makes things easier, so if you make mistakes, you can go back. You don't have to start from scratch. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go over here. This is the outliner. And we're going to shift left mouse button click left. We're going to select all those. We're going to come here in the viewport, right mouse button click, and we're going to go down to move to a collection. And a collection is basically, it's like you're creating a folder in the outliner and you can put whatever you want inside there, and it helps you be able to organize large amounts of objects in your scene. So we're going to go to move to collection, and we're going to do new collection, and we're going to create a name, head block out. And we'll, in order to keep it organized, we'll go 01 at the front because it reads left to right. And that'll put all of this inside a nice little folder here inside the outliner. So now it's all organized. And you can click this little arrow to hide all the information, or you can click it and it'll turn down and you can see what's inside. Okay, so we have our head blocked out, and you can right click on that and you can go to duplicate collection. So you just duplicated everything in there, and this will be our 01. Well, we're going to change this, so you can double click on it and it'll highlight, so you can change the name. I'm going to change this to 02 head block out, and then we're going to put refine. Okay, so backspace, and I'm just going to put refine. So we'll hide the head block out, so that way it doesn't get in our way. So you just click on the little eyeball in the camera, so that way it won't be seen. And now we're in here. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to refine the shape a little bit. Okay, so in this character, the nose is a little more, it's not as sloped here. It's a little more up, and then it's almost upturned, not quite, and then it kind of goes down and around. So what we're gonna do is we're going to go to the object mode to edit, and what we see here is the original cube that has the subdivision modifier on top of it. So if you clicked on this little display, this will turn it off in the view right here, and that's what it is. But with the modifier turned on, it subdivides it 4 times, so it multiplies all these faces and it makes it all round and stuff. So what we're gonna do is, we don't want to select the face, we want to select the vertices. Okay, and going to make sure over on the left side we have the selection box, and we just want to select these little dots. These little dots are the vertices, so we select those, and we're going to go over to the move tool, and you can just get it onto one of the orthographic views, and we're just going to move up, move it out a little bit, Move it up and see how we're getting a little more interesting shape. Yeah, it's working out a little bit. And we can select the bottom and we can slide those back a little bit. Like that. And we could lower the back part of it. You don't see it, but it will have effect on this. So I selected those two rear vertices, and I'll just see how that's having a little bit of effect there. There we go. And this is kind of a neat way to do some shape refining before we combine everything. So I think that'll work. I'm okay with that. Yeah, all right. And that's kind of what 3D modelers do. We kind of will turn things around in the viewport, kind of trying to look at it from different angles, see how it's looking. Because sometimes when you do that, something will look good from one angle and then not look so great from another angle. So by constantly turning it and looking at it from different positions, you can kind of see like, oh, okay, that's working. That's where, oh, nope, I got to fix that. I got to fix that. Very, very common. Okay, so we'll go to edit mode, back to object mode. And then I want to pull these cheeks back a little bit. I'd like to kind of cover up this part. So object mode to edit mode, and we're kind of do the same thing. So we're gonna do, I'm gonna select the bottom two. Okay, the bottom two vertices of that cheek, and because it's still mirrored across, it'll do exactly what I'm doing on this one over here. So it's a great time saver. And we can just slide that back a little bit. All right. And maybe we should just lift those cheeks up a little bit. Can't select it, so you can go up here and you can switch from viewport shading to the wireframe mode, and that helps you see things and select things. So I selected the two top vertices, and you can kind of move that. You can move that up a little bit. Yeah. It's working pretty good. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Let's look at it from the orthographic view. That's the back of the head. Okay. So go to edit mode, object mode on the left-hand side. I'm going to select this, and I'm just going to squash it just a little bit. Okay. That's all part of it. Just little shape refinements for the block out. Seems to be working okay. All right. And that's the thing. Sometimes you look at it, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, yeah, I didn't see that before. Okay, so we just did the block out refinement. Now we're going to save this. So we're going to go File, Save As. and you have right here, Nux, I saved it as Nux 02 Blockout Refine. You know, it's all about keeping things organized. Big, big help. Save as. Okay. Okay, on the next part, we're going to select the Blockout Refine, the head Blockout Refine, excuse me, and we're going to duplicate that collection. Okay, and let's make it 3. And we're going to call this head blockout join. All right, so that allows you to go back to the old one in case you make a mistake or want to try it again. Practice whatever you want. It's just a great way to help save you a lot of lost time if you go down the wrong direction. So we have that selected. I hid blockout head 02 head blockout. And now what we need to do before we join all these shapes, we need to collapse the modifiers, the little wrenches here. So we need to collapse the subdivision. We need to, on the antennae and the cheeks, we need to collapse the mirror. Okay, very easy. So I will show you first on the head. So it's very simple. You make sure you have the object you want to collapse selected. You go over here to the modifier tab where the wrench is, and we're just going to go over here to the little arrow and we're going to click apply. Now it's applied. Okay, now we're going to go over to the cheeks. So here we have 2 modifiers stacked on top of each other. Now you can go in individually and apply them, but there's even a faster way to do it. So you can go up here to the top and you can go to apply all, and that'll collapse all of them. So click that and look at that, all applied. But no, there's actually even a faster way to do it. So these last 4 all have modifiers on them. Instead of going in individually, you can select them all. Select the top one, then shift click the bottom one. That selects all of those in between. And you can go here to apply all, and look at that, it applied them all for you. I could have done that with all of them, but I wanted to show you what it was that we were doing. So now those are all applied. Okay, and now we're going to join them. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to select the head at the top, and we're going to shift click the bottom one. That selects them all. Put your mouse over the selected geometry and right click, and you're going to go up to join. See that? J-O-I-N, join. And you're going to click that, and now they're all one object. All right, now it doesn't look like anything's changed, but if you look here in the outliner, see, it's all one piece of geometry now, where before they were all separate pieces. So now that we've joined them, now we're going to prepare it to remesh it so that we can start sculpting on it. Okay, so we're almost to the fun stuff. So make sure your head's selected. We're going to go to object mode. We're going to go to sculpt mode. That's below edit mode. Select that and see all these really cool little icons here. These are all different types of brushes, right? So here you can see the brush. You can see the little brush tool and see how it like hugs the faces because what we're going to do is we're going to be able to go in and do all sorts of really cool things with this. You can smooth, you can add more geometry, you can subtract geometry, you can carve into it. It's just really, really fun, very much like clay. But first we have to prepare it so that it'll work extremely well for what we want to do in the sculpting process. So you're gonna put your mouse over the geometry and you're gonna hit the key R. All right, and see this grid pops up, and then you're gonna slide it down, and we're gonna get down to 0.02, and see how the grid's getting denser, more and more faces, because that's gonna be how dense the geometry is gonna be, and you want more geometry in order to sculpt, so you can get all that fine detail. So we want to get down to about 0.155. Yeah, actually let's try 0.0125. Okay, so once you have it there, I still have my finger down on the R key, and now I'm going to left click. All right, so that sets it there. Then we're going to go over to remesh up here on the top right. Click on the little arrow and see it's remembering what we set. And now we're going to click remesh. Now this will take a few minutes because it's got to recalculate it. It's going to make a new piece of geometry. So just be prepared. If you have a slower computer, it'll take a little longer, but just make sure you save before you do something like this if you have a slower computer. Okay? All right, so click remesh. And I have a pretty fast one, so as you can see, it went through it pretty quickly. So you'll see a lot of this little jaggy stuff. That's it, connecting all these geometry pieces. And if you go over here to the upper right to the viewport shading and you select on wireframe, you can see how that made a very dense mesh. And that's good. We want that because that means we can sculpt more detail into our character's head. So go back to solid shading. And now we're going to smooth all this out. And this is really fun. So you're going to go over to the left side. We're going to go down to see the smooth brush. You can click on that. And what we want to do is we want to save time and be efficient. So we want to use the mirror brush tool. So right now it's just we have to do one side and then go over and do the other side. But if you go over here to the upper right, just below the viewport shading, you'll see these are the different axes. And what we want is the y-axis. Now yours might be a little different if you set it up a little differently, or you started on a different axis, but you can kind of tell. See, you'll see on the left side, you'll see the brush icon here, and if you look on the right side, you'll see a little red dot. So that's telling me that I'm on the right axis for what I want. So that's kind of how you can tell. So if you're not getting that right now, you might want to try Z. You might want to try X. There you go. This is too many. You would want to do it one at a time. But right now we're going to do Y. Okay. So now the brush is a little small. So up here you can control the brushes, the brush size, and the strength of the brush. So right now it's very strong at 0.7. I think 1 is the strongest. And this is the radius. So it's at 50 pixels, I believe. We want it a little bigger at this stage because we're just going to smooth things out. So you can see what you're comfortable with. I think I'm going to do 120. All right, there we go. And then you can go to the strength, and I'm going to put it down to 0.4. We don't want it too strong. We just want to smooth this out. If you have it real strong, it actually it'll start to change the shape before we're ready to do that. So, okay, there we go. So you use your left mouse button and you just hold it down and just brush over and see how it's starting to smooth everything out. Isn't that cool? Yeah. It's kind of like taking your thumb on a piece of clay and just rubbing it over these little seams over and over again, and it smooths it all out. And see how we have this little grid? This is left over from the original resolution of the sphere. Well, we can smooth that out too. Look at that. See? And that's what we want to do. We want to go all over the head and smooth this out and make it so that we don't see seams, we don't see any of these grid lines, and just make it nice and smooth. Don't go too crazy though yet. We're just making it smooth so we have a starting point. Okay, and if you have it on the mirror brush, it's doing the exact same thing on the other side. See, so it's saving you half the time. All right, so I'm just gonna go through here. See, isn't that cool? I love that. This reminds me when I used to play with clay and Play-Doh when I was a kid. Except my hands aren't getting as dirty. And my mom's not as mad at me for making a mess. All right. So here, see how it's all ugly and janky with the geometry connecting to it? Well, we just smooth that out. Look at that. Isn't that nice? So now it looks like it's actually part of his head. And it's really cool. You can do this with, this is like so much fun. It makes it so much easier to create characters. You don't have to get in heavily into the details. You can just sit here and play and just like, oh wow, this is cool. What if I do this? See how I'm blending that sphere in so it's not a sphere anymore. It's part of this antenna stock. And you can kind of blend it all in, and it starts to, what we call an organic shape to it. See? Instead of it looking like a geometric shape, it's starting to look like it grew, you know, like a living being. All right, so we go on top of the head, smooth all this out. Smooth out the forehead here. Okay. Yeah. See? And it was, the other side was done because it was mirrored. All right, so now we're gonna make this neck look nice and smooth. See, blended that in nicely. See that when you have it, the brush set at a low power, it's just enough where you can make changes, but it isn't going like, whoa, that's too smooth, or it's taking away the shape. I don't like that. It's just enough, and it keeps the control in your hands. All right. See, brushing along here to make this more so it doesn't look like lines, it looks more like a curve. And I just want to blend this in. Let's do the same with this cheek. Try to blend that in a little bit more. Yeah. All right. Look at that. See? Isn't this fun? All right. So, probably smooth that a little bit more. All right. All right, so we got the head, cheeks, the mouth, the antennae all blended in, joined together. We remeshed it and we smoothed it all out. So now we're ready to start doing the sculpting of the eyes, the mouth, the nose, and refine the shape even further. All right, so I'll see you then.